Hi everyone, my name is Gabriela from TulipArt Designs and you are welcome on this creative channel where I am showing you watercolor sketching ideas, tips and tricks, how to spend your free time with more joyful things to do. Today we are sketching Magnolia and I am so happy for this one. I am loving it, how it turned out. So let's just dive in and let me show you how to do it. Before I start sketching our Magnolia and showing you how to do it, I want to tell you about my supplies. I have a sketchbook. It's a watercolor sketchbook. It has cold press paper. I have some watercolor paints. I'm using my Mary Blue. I have my round brush number 10. Any round brush will be okay. If you feel comfortable with a smaller size brush, that's okay. Just use whatever you have. Then I have a drawing pen and I have two sizes. I will probably use 02 because my paper is kind of smooth, so it's still cold press, but it doesn't have a rough texture. It's something in the middle. Then I have a pencil. I already made a small sketch, and if you need these sketchy outlines, then you can find them on my Patreon. I will link it below. I also have a jelly roll pen in case I want to add some highlights in the end. Okay, I think these are my supplies. Yeah, paper towel and some water. Then I will start with inking this time. Just my traditional steps are inking, then watercoloring and adding some highlights. But sometimes I really like to do the reverse watercolor, so starting with watercolor and then adding some ink lines. Then what I usually do is starting from the petals, and I will start with the ones that are on the front. I'm shaking my pen so I really get nice and sketchy style. I am adding a second line on the bottom part of this petal just to create a little bit of shadow. Then I will sketch my other leaf, petal that is here on the front. And when I am not completely happy with some of the lines, I just go back, make them thicker, add another line. And because it's all about sketching, I don't really focus on perfection. What's really watercolor sketching about? Then I will sketch the big petal. Why I'm saying leaf all the time? The big petal here in the middle. We'll just add a few detail lines like this. We can go back and add a second line just like this. I will make this petal one of the back ones and then another one here. It's kind of a folded, so that's why I have this second line here. And then another one from the back and one more that is also a little bit folded here on the side. And when I'm not sure about my lines, I just go back and make them thicker. Okay, this is my flower. I want to make a small leaf here, then this little center that holds the flower. the bloom, and then I have the branch itself. And you can see that sometimes I'm just picking up my pen and we can always go back and just add a few scribbles to create a little bit of texture. Okay, just like this. I want to erase the pencil lines right now, because when we add watercolor on top of this, we cannot erase the pencil lines anymore. The watercolor just works as a mask and we will not be able to erase any of these. Okay, I will start with the flower and then I want to create some nice background. I will add water all over my flower, and I try to not bother too much about how much water I have. I try not to have too big puddles. I try to have quite even wet surface. So I am going back and forth with my brush, spreading around the water. If I go out a little bit of the lines, I will be fine with this. Then I have this Rose Lake watercolor, and I will start here from the center, dropping in some color. I'm leaving it to bleed around. I always enjoy how the paint just bleeds. And our center should be darker. So here where I go closer and closer to the tip of the petals, I start adding less and less of the paint. Then I will go back with some extra paint, a bit more concentrated paint, and add it here around the center again, a few lines like this. Here on the back of this flower a little bit, and I am not stressing too much because this is wet in wet technique, so we can't really control it completely, but we know that here it will be darker. So I am tapping just with the tip of my brush to add a little bit of darker value of this paint. That's gonna be it. I will stop here. I will make my branch. I will skip this part here because the petals are still wet. So I am using, you're not seeing my palette. Let me put it here. Let me also zoom in. I'm not very good with the camera today. Apparently I need someone to help me. But I'm using very transparent burnt umber, adding it to my branch. Then I will pick more concentrated and darker burnt umber, and I will tap it on the bottom part while it is still wet, so it will bleed just like this. If your first layer is already dry, you can just go another time with some extra very light and transparent burnt umber, or you can work with layers. That's also fine. I just really enjoy how the paint bleeds, so I always try to be quick, and I'm also not patient, so that's another thing that I just can't spend too much time on one sketch, and I really want to, you know, have it done quite quickly, which is not a very good thing all the time, but it's also not bad, right? Okay, let me make some green. I will use Hooker's green with just a small touch of golden green. So I will paint this leaf here. I can take darker green and add it here on the bottom part. Let's paint this part. These are lighter greens, so I want very light green. If you have dripping water from your brush, just tap it on the paper towel, and then you will have very transparent and delicate green. Just like this. If you think that you want your leaf to be lighter, you can lift some paint, you dry your brush, it should be clean, and then you push, and then you basically lift some of this dark paint. Okay, this is another technique that I really love to use when I want to bring back some light, how do I say, light parts to the subject. I want this to be completely dry to add a little bit of background. For the background, I want to use some nice blue. I will just add roughly some water. I try not to touch my flower, but in case it happens, it will be fine. I'm adding just water for the background. We are gonna use wet in wet, and I just make it with very rough edge. So I'm really playing around with my brush. Adding backgrounds could be a bit scary, because sometimes we don't know which color to use. Are we going to ruin our sketch or not? But I think it's always worth it to try out and see what we can do. Okay, then I will pick some blue. I have Prussian blue. It's very nice and vibrant blue, and I will just add it and let it bleed in the water. If you want to go very closer to your leaves, you can use just the tip of the brush to be more precise. And because we already have water, the background will naturally become lighter, because water makes our watercolor lighter and more transparent. So don't be afraid to take more paint on your brush. And then we can go faster. Here I can see that my paper starts to dry, so I want to be quick. and then also here. So you could see how our flower just pops up when we add a little bit darker background. Okay, I want to be quick and add a bit darker tones here just around the flower and let the paint bleed. I always enjoy this paint, how it moves and flows in the water. It's amazing. And in the beginning I was very frustrated because I was expecting something, then it just didn't work. And I definitely needed some time to learn how to let it go and not focus too much on perfection, and to just enjoy how this look, all of these small veins that are created is just the paint. I don't do anything about it. So I have to say that you will get probably a bit different result, and that's okay. Just enjoy it. Throw in more paint, throw in more darker paint here in the corners, just like this. Then the flower will pop up even more. Maybe here on the bottom, like this. And then also here. So I take more and more concentrated paint, like creamy consistency, and adding it while the paper is still wet. If I see that it's getting dry, I will not add paint there, but maybe here I can add a bit more, just like this. So because I keep adding paint and water, I will have some hard lines, and if you don't like it, you can just go over and paint it again. Okay, just adding a bit extra paint. Now I have some nice light spaces, and I have the darker ones around the flower. I am loving this. I will clean my brush, it's very important. I will leave it to dry. I want to clean it a bit more. I will let this dry and add a little bit of highlights with my Jelly Roll pen on the petals. All right, I will grab some white Jelly Roll pen and I will add it where I have the darkest parts. Now my paper is still warm from the heat gun, so my Jelly Roll pen doesn't really go very smooth, but that's okay. I want to add a few lines where I have the darkest parts. So a few detail lines here on the bottom. I'm really sketching it. I'm going closer to the ink lines. I am adding a few extra details, and here on the back as well. Then I can add some on the greenery, like this, maybe here on the branch itself, so it will pop up a bit more. So what we are searching for is extra contrast. Okay, I want my pen 03 to go back and add a little bit of extra thickness to these lines. It's like filling the small white gaps between the background and my petals. So this will make my flower pop up even more. Also here. If you are using ink on top of the watercolor, make sure that the watercolor is completely dry. Make sure that the paper is not too warm if you are using the heat gun. That's it will just ruin the pen in case you don't stick to these let's call them rules, watercolor sketching rules. Maybe yeah, let's call them watercolor sketching rules. I just still think about the terminology I'm using sometimes. Okay, there is a little bit of gap here, and I will fill it with some extra lines. I will add extra detail line on the big petal. Okay, something like this. I will add here some extra lines because I see some white spots. This is not really necessary, it's more about me wanting to make this illustration finished. When should we stop? It's always a good question. If you start having the feeling that it's too much, then that's the moment to stop. All right, I want to add one last detail. I will take some bleed proof white to make a few splashes, a few splatters here. How I use this, I wet my brush and I just do this here. It's like mixing and making a nice creamy consistency paint. I fill my brush very well. I will hold it horizontally and try to splash a few. Because the paint is thicker, I have to tap harder. It's a very nice finish because we have a dark background, so these white, let's call them stars, are just perfect fit. I am loving it. It's a messy technique. My desk has splatters all over, but I'm very happy with the result. So that was it for today. I hope you liked it. I hope you learned something, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you very much for being here and joining me for the Magnolia tutorial, one of our 100 watercolor sketches in 2025. Consider subscribing for my channel so you will not miss any of the other videos. If you need the outlines, I will link my Patreon below where you can find all the templates. And that's it. I hope to see you next time. Bye.